As you can tell from the title of this video, I don't like grindy games. No longer are the times of intricate and varied level design, but now, games are based on one single mechanic and tend to be very successful by doing so. Games contain hours upon hours of just doing the same thing over and over again, and the fact that this gaming generation has seemingly no problem with this actually astonishes me. My definition of grindy gameplay is doing a repetitive task over and over again with very little variation, usually for some kind of reward or achievement. And when you really think about it, a lot of games nowadays do this. Okay, but the thing is, this type of gameplay actually works. There are gamers spending hundreds of hours on some of these games and continue to play them, but why? Why do the majority of gamers I talk to defend grindy gameplay? And why is it apparently only me that doesn't like this type of gameplay? That is what I'm going to be discussing in this video. Welcome to Minecraft. It is a wonderful game, and it gives me the ability to be creative and free in my own world. However, a lot of the time when I have ideas and things to do and build, I never actually do them. Sometimes I open up the world and try and get started, and others I don't even try at all, and that is simply because of the gameplay. It is repetitive, and gets boring really quickly. If I want to get rich on diamonds and craft a full set of diamond armor, I have to mine for hours. I don't always have hours available to do that, and is it even worth it? Spending hours of my life mining in search for diamonds in a digital world that gives me nothing in real life? Okay, but that is not what video games are about. Video games are about entertainment, and that's just it. There is nothing entertaining about digging holes and mining for hours. But what about that feeling of finally getting those diamonds? It must be worth it, right? Well, no. Not for me, it isn't. I would much rather do something more productive than do a repetitive and boring task in a video game for hours. Yet, there are gamers that I speak to who love doing this. When I ask them why, they say it is the reward afterwards. It is not just mining diamonds that has gameplay like this. Even building a house or something in your world consists of pretty much doing the same thing over and over again. Aside from coming up with the designs, repeating it for all your walls and roof is very repetitive. You simply build your walls up, block by block, and there isn't even much of a challenge when you do so. For this reason, this is why I like very early Minecraft survival, such as your first night. It is engaging since early in the game you are doing many different tasks and have a clear objective, which is to survive the night. However, more late games such as mining diamonds, things get really repetitive since there is nothing new to do. As I said before, the reward isn't worth it for me. Even in super popular online multiplayer games like Overwatch, you really don't get much for winning. Nonetheless, the satisfaction is enough for some people, but for some reason it still baffles me on how games manage to have such huge fan bases when the game is just based on doing the same thing over and over again across many different rounds. But hey, credit is due where it is due. Some of these games actually do a really good job at varying how each round is played. Sea of Thieves is a great game. I love sailing the 7 seas with my friends, and what makes it so special is while every quest is essentially the same, how you accomplish it is not. Sea of Thieves has no limits. You can do anything really. There is no set way to do a specific quest. Along with this, there are many obstacles you might have to overcome. Sea of Thieves adds variety to their gameplay by introducing some NPC elements such as the skeleton pirates, the giant shark, and the kraken. These can interrupt your quest, and when they do, there are numerous ways you can face them. You can battle them but risk losing your loot. You can sail away and hope to outrun them. You can abandon ship and sail on a rowboat with as much loot as you can carry. Seriously, you can even just swim for it if you really wanted, because Sea of Thieves has no limits. With all this, plus online players you may encounter, it makes each quest you do in Sea of Thieves feel unique, despite each having the same objective. This is what keeps Sea of Thieves fun for me. I've had many hours of joy and entertainment from this game, because it does such a good job at keeping me engaged and interested in the current mission and future quests me and my crew will do. While Sea of Thieves does a good job at varying the gameplay when compared to other games, there's also one other key reason why I enjoy it, and that is because of something called games are better with friends. I couldn't imagine sailing the seas in Sea of Thieves without my friends. One of the main reasons Sea of Thieves takes a long time to get boring is because we have our friends to entertain us. Even while we sail without any obstacles, we still manage to entertain ourselves. We have instruments to play, beer to drink, and other things to do aboard the ship while we await our destination. Traveling in Sea of Thieves is fun because of this. Even when we have nothing to do, we have each other. Sea of Thieves is not the only game to do this. Fortnite, as disliked as it is, does a really good job at keeping its players engaged. It has things to vary gameplay, such as special vehicles as well as multiplayer. Even when we are just walking along and traveling, we still manage to entertain each other. Sometimes, we even take a break from the main objective, which is to eliminate all the other players, and we just mess around in certain locations for nothing but fun. Multiplayer is essential in these games, because playing with your friends is enough to entertain. I believe this is why games like Overwatch, Fortnite, and any other online multiplayer game manage to have huge player bases, because these games are simply based around multiplayer. There is still one type of grindy game I haven't really discussed yet in this video. The most prominent example of this type of grind is the popular mobile game Clash of Clans, and how these games typically have Aside from the odd attack, Clash of Clans has no gameplay. The goal in this game is to upgrade your base. Clash of Clans does a good job at doing this, as every time you upgrade a building, you inch closer to the end goal, and it begins to show after you look back on everything you have done. But all Clash of Clans has is waiting. Seriously, all you do in that game is wait for things to finish. It is not like grindy games, where you do something over that time, but in Clash of Clans, you do nothing. It seems that the developers have tried giving the player more to do, as they have a goblin campaign and no wait time between battles in the builder base. But the thing preventing players from doing these is because there are no rewards. Seriously, I can get like 10 times the loot the goblin campaign gives me from online battles, and I have no motive to battle in the builder base once I get all my loot for that day. In fact, these have some anti-motives too. If I fail an attack on the goblin campaign, I just wasted a valuable army, and if I fail an attack in the builder base, I risk losing trophies. Along with all this, there's very little variation between each attack. Clash of Clans is not the only game to do this. Another example is the popular clicker game Cookie Clicker. After buying a few upgrades, all you really need to do is leave the game running in the background while you do something else. This means there is literally no gameplay. Okay, so we have now analyzed some grindy gameplay instances. Each of the games I've discussed feature very grindy and repetitive gameplay, yet each have their own huge fan bases. In some instances, however, I feel that these grindy gameplay elements are just used as a really cheap way to increase the Let's look back at Minecraft. One of the main goals in that game is defeating the Ender Dragon. One of the hardest parts of doing this is collecting Eye of Enders, which can be crafted with Blaze Powder and Ender Pearls. Both of these are difficult to get, but in two completely different ways, one of which is good and the other of which is not as good. Firstly, let's discuss achieving the Blaze Powder. This can be done by fighting blazes in the Nether. This is a difficult task, as blazes are a very fearsome mob, and along with the other monsters in the Nether that vary gameplay, it becomes a difficult challenge. Luckily, it is easy to find blazes, as there are blaze spawners in the other fortresses. It takes genuine skill to fight these beasts once they spawn, and due to the convenience of the blaze spawners, it isn't a tedious task, yet also is fun, due to the other obstacles in the Nether that must be overcome. However, the opposite is for Ender Pearls. Getting these is a very tedious task. It isn't even that difficult, it is just annoying. We have to stay up at night so that Endermen can spawn. Even with this, actually finding them is very difficult, but once you do, killing it is not an issue. But the chances that they even drop an Ender Pearl is incredibly rare, at least from my experiences. I would say that only about 1 in 3 Endermen I kill actually drop an Ender Pearl. The developers obviously did not want you to defeat the Ender Dragon so quickly or easily, hence why they added these two requirements. The problem is, rather than adding unique and good gameplay to make this process of reaching the end dimension long yet challenging, it was done by adding very repetitive gameplay to achieve the Ender Pearls. It isn't even hard, it is just annoying, and it is only challenging because Endermen don't spawn very frequently, and even if they do, they're not guaranteed to drop an Ender Pearl. A better way to make getting to the end dimension a long and challenging process would be to add more unique gameplay, rather than making the player do the same thing over and over again to get enough Ender Pearls. Maybe have them do numerous varied and unique tasks to get certain items which can be used to open the portal. It would be long, yet it would feel like time well spent. Games that do a good job at this are essentially any RPG game or any game with a campaign. For example, let's take a look at Just Shapes and Beats. In this game's campaign mode, you have to complete many levels and travel through many zones in order to reach the final boss. Each of these levels are unique and different from the rest, making the process to reach the final boss long and challenging yet entertaining, something Minecraft did not do. Making a player do the same thing numerous times and wasting their time is not a good way to add difficulty. Instead, make there be numerous levels or tasks that are unique and entertaining, and adding harder challenges the further the player goes. This is how to do difficulty right. Okay, so with all this said and done, let's analyze. Before we get into things, let's come up with some criteria that all grindy games should follow so they are still entertaining despite focusing on one main objective and mechanic. Firstly, vary the gameplay. Add obstacles that can occur while players do this task. Also give the player options so they don't do something the same way. Give them freedom to solve situations the way they want to, like Sea of Thieves does. Secondly, let there be multiplayer or expand on it. Multiplayer is simply the future of gaming, which is why I feel that cross-platform multiplayer games like Minecraft are succeeding. Thirdly, give the player a reward. For players like me, entertainment is the reward. However, it is always good to have some kind of reward for each time you finish a grindy task. For example, maybe for winning a round in an online multiplayer game, you can receive a form of in-game currency or some special prizes. And finally, don't make things more grindier to increase difficulty. Instead, make the task more challenging yet also more engaging and still fun. What I find funny is fixing some of these grindy games wouldn't even be too hard. For the majority of these games, just adding more content and variation is simply enough. For example, Minecraft could add more biomes, more naturally generated buildings, and even more enemies. Perhaps silverfish could attack you occasionally while you mine, and rather than exploring the overworld and finding nothing, maybe you can come across temples and cool structures more occasionally. My biggest issue with Minecraft currently is how once you've seen or done something, there is really no reason to do it again. For example, once you see a Minecraft biome, all other times that biome comes up is the same. Once you've seen a jungle, you've seen all jungles. Once you've defeated the Ender Dragon and got the achievement, there is no reason to defeat it again. I think the easiest way to do this is to add more enemies and naturally spawning structures. For example, when exploring the overworld, we don't really come across anything that interesting. Things like jungle temples are so rare. The most interesting thing I ever come across are some villages in the odd desert temple. Minecraft should add more of and increase the likelihood of finding these. As well as this, collecting resources is one of the most grindy and repetitive tasks in the game. Maybe while mining down a forest, some mobs could spawn more commonly. Maybe even some mobs exclusive to the forest biome would be cool, so while you mine trees, you have some obstacles that you have to overcome, making it more engaging and fun. For online multiplayer games like Overwatch, they should go down the same route as Fortnite and Sea of Thieves. They could add more items and things in-game to enhance gameplay like Sea of Thieves, or even add limited time new modes like Fortnite sometimes does. Also, adding in campaign mode with unique maps and enemies would be really good, especially for when the player's friends are offline. Simple changes like this will go a long way in making these games feel less repetitive, but more engaging and entertaining. While sometimes a good reward is enough to keep players playing your game, the truth is, games shouldn't be about the reward, but rather they should be about the journey, which is the actual gameplay. Wait a minute, isn't the main game I play on this channel solely based around repetitive gameplay? What keeps me playing this game compared to all the rest? And, well, the truth is, this game fulfills most of the criteria I outlined earlier. Geometry Dash has 21 main levels that are each intricate and unique. As well as this, we receive updates to the game which add new content. Even without updates, the community constantly pushes out unique new levels for me to try. I can also create my own levels. Aside from creating the first few designs for a part, the rest is very repetitive, yet I am still engaged because it has wonderful rewards, which are having the developer play my level, achieving tens of thousands of downloads, thousands of likes, hundreds of comments, and creator points. Rewards this big for completing a level is indeed worth it for me, and sadly, Geometry Dash is one of the few games that can actually have a reward this great. As well as this, making intricate designs and gameplay in-game makes the creating process fun, even if repetitive at times, since if I ever get bored, I can change up the design and gameplay if I want, since I have absolute freedom. Geometry Dash is a game based on a very simple concept, yet it has so many things you can do that it remains one of my most favorite games ever that I still constantly play to this day. Geometry Dash has the varying gameplay of progressive-based games, the multiplayer being the community and community events and friends we make along the way, the reward that is so worth it compared to other games, and finally, the different and unique ways of increasing difficulty. All of this is why I love Geometry Dash, despite technically being a grindy game. While I don't like grindy games for the most part, and even ones I shared positives on like Sea of Thieves are not perfect, that doesn't mean I'm not willing to give them a try. I prefer more progressive gameplay-based games such as RPGs and games like Undertale and Hollow Knight, where it stays interesting and engaging due to the unique and fun gameplay, as well as mixing things up whenever something starts to get boring. With the popularity grinding games are getting, they seem to be the future. Hopefully future grinding games can take what I said in this video into consideration, and maybe these games can begin to satisfy all types of players that enjoy entertaining gameplay. I'm going to end this video with a very common and cliche, yet fitting quote for this video. It is not the destination, it is the journey. Thanks so much for watching my video. It means a lot to me that you made it this far in the video. I want to let you know that if you want, please feel free to subscribe to my channel. As of writing this, I have only 253 subscribers, and subscribing to this channel is the best way to support me. While the majority of my content is based around Geometry Dash, I plan on making more videos like this on other games I like. I have plans to make a video on Undertale soon, and a video on Hollow Knight once I finish that game. Anyway, I am MoldyMacaroniX, and have a wonderful day.